At Your End Step is brought to you by Comic Town and BCW Supplies. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Dave.
Oh, I'm first.
Yeah, mix
Hey,
it
it's
up.
me.
And Mike.
And it's a me.
It's a me. And we have another fun-filled episode for you folks. Of course, this is part 2 of the
Ixalan-a-PALOOZA.
So we are going to kind of just dive right into it again. I didn't play any pre-releases. Mike, you played in a pre-release and judged a pre-release. Was it fun? Did you have a good time?
Mike.
Oh, yeah, I wore a pirate set, and I had a great time judging the event.
Perfect.
And yeah, Kate and I had fun playing Two at a Giant, and there's a lot of weird things in the format. Fart hands is not fun to play against.
Oh, you didn't get it.
No, we got fart handed.
Oh,
No,
So
that's
Yeah.
awful.
we got the farts handed right to us.
yeah.
So that was unfortunate.
that must have stunk.
And I think I've played a little bit on Magic Online, and so has Mike. So we've actually we're going to be talking about some cards that we've actually played with, which I think is pretty cool. Of course, before we get started, give a shout out to both our sponsors. So we have, of course, Comic Town Gaming Center, and they're going to have a Legacy Expo for their end of the year championship series this Saturday. So if you want more information about that event, check out their Facebook page. It's just Comic Town Gaming Center. You can find out all the deets on that. And of course, BCW Supplies. So our contest just ended. We haven't picked our winner yet, but we will be tallying everything up. Of course, adding our Patreon folks that kind of get a little bit of a bonus add into the giveaways and stuff like that. And then we'll draw our winner, and then we'll announce them next week on our not so jam-packed show that we have. So you guys can have that full force of your announcement of winning. And and we'll give you a laurel and a hearty handshake. And of course, to check out some of the awesome things you can win from BCW Supplies from us, check out all of their stuff on their website, bcwsupplies.com, or their Facebook page, which is just searching for BCW Supplies on Facebook. So quick, simple, easy. So let's jump in. So we've already covered Artifact Lands, white, black, and blue. So next up is red. And we're going to start off with Burning Sun's Avatar.
Zenith?
No, not that one.
I'll start here. Burning Sun's Avatar is 3, so red, 3 generic, for a 6/6 creature dinosaur avatar. When Burning Sun Avatar enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to target opponent and 3 damage to up to 1 target creature. One thing I do want to make mention of, because I had judge issues come up with this over the weekend, it has to target an opponent. It's not a May, so it has to target an opponent. It targets up to 1 creature. So it happened, what I saw a couple times on Saturday, where the people were hitting a creature and not the opponent, and then trying to move on. You can't half resolve that trigger. If you, as an opponent, have acknowledged that a creature has died, you're taking 3 damage. But if you take 3 damage and they don't target a creature, they can miss that trigger. So it's a weird one, but it does work that way.
How does that work with the new rules? So we had some new rules go into effect where May effects, you have to remind your opponent.
Yes. I have to look. I have to look at that. I thought we would talk about it next week.
Okay. Well,
but I think it's
alert.
your cards. Like if you cast Path to Exile, you also should remind your opponent that, hey, are you going? Asking them, are you going to get a land?
Gotcha.
Ghost
So if
Quarter,
your
are you gonna
opponent
get a
does
land?
this, doesn't target a creature.
Yeah,
then,
okay. Because it says up to, you don't have to remind them of anything. They've just chosen not to target something. But if they kill a creature but don't deal 3 damage to you, and you know that, you are cheating. So, because you can't half resolve an ability, it all has to resolve. Otherwise, though, I think this card is close for constructed. Unfortunately, there's just a better 6 mana Dino.
Yeah.
That's just where we're at. I do want to play this with Panharmonicon, though. I want to put a jazz saxophone in this dinosaur's hands and just take him to Baker Street.
Yeah.
So
No, it looks like he'd get down. He'd be down a clown.
But that ability is already pretty powerful. Searing Blaze is an effect that is played in pretty much every Eternal format where there's a burn deck. Mm-hmm. Attaching it to a 6/6, which is hard to kill in Standard currently, is is enjoyable.
Searing Blaze is already red, so you're just like paying 4 additional mana for a 6/6, and that's okay.
Yeah, not the worst.
It's an all upside 6/6 in red. Normally, like this would just be like a slam dunk, but there's a lot of big things stomping around the standard.
It also has to in red alone. It has to fight against like Combustible Gear Hulk, which I think this is better than that. But First Strike is legitimate when you're dealing with when you're matching up with again Carnage Tyrants or anything else. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if this will see play, but it feels really close.
I agree.
It's cool.
It is cool.
It's certainly cool.
I mean, yeah there's that. All right. Next on our list, we have Captain Lannery's Storm. So it's 2 in a red for a 2/2 legendary creature, human pirate. It has haste. Whenever Captain Lannery's Storm attacks, create a treasure. And it also has whenever you sacrifice a treasure, Captain Lannery's Storm gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So I've seen this card getting a lot of hype for constructed. I'm just not seeing it really. Like it seems okay. Like it's kind of like if they don't have a blocker, then okay, you attack and then you can ramp up to your 5-drop or whatever. But it seems like it just gets blocked very easily.
And I'm going to sound biased. I understand, and I want to say I'm a big fan of Lannery's Storm. She went through a tough time after her metal band broke up, but with her pirate themed solo album coming out, Lannery's Storm is a metal singer name, right? Like you have like Lita Ford, and then you have Lannery's Storm. Like you couldn't, if you didn't know what magic or metal bands were, or old '80s hair band singers, you couldn't pick the two out. But that being said, there's another 3-mana lady in Standard who just does this better. That's PNLR. She's 2/2 for 3, same cost, but she always brings an artifact. There is no if. There's no attack. She always brings an artifact. And that artifact's ability is, what she can do, the Falter and the pumping of the Thopter, always essentially being 3/3 worth of a body. It makes it tough to play, in my mind, to play this card over PNLR. And if you have any artifact synergies and you're playing this because you're going to get a treasure, PNLR just feels better there too. So I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, having to attack to get the treasure makes it feel real bad if your opponent has, a magma spray or something.
Or a blocker that has 3 toughness.
Well, yeah, but like if they just kill it before combat, you don't even get the treasure,
fair, I guess.
So, it is cool that if you could have a bunch of treasures in play and then just play this and attack for 1 million, but
the best to talk or the worst to talk.
Yeah, that seems like pretty far fetched, but I mean, I guess it could happen. But
it's another 3-drop that has a lot of text and a lot of cool abilities, but it does not stack up. I think against PNLR. I just don't think it does. Haste is the only thing where it's better, but for a 3-mana 2/2 with haste it's not winning awards. So,
well, let's talk about another haste creature.
Just if the only way that you would actually play this card over like if you're playing like a specific pirate deck.
Maybe, yeah. I guess that would make sense, but
yeah. That's my only statement. Like,
but still, it's not. Other than her just being a pirate, there's no other pirate synergy. It doesn't say like whenever you attack with a pirate, get a treasure. That'd be sweet, but maybe too good.
Yeah, clearly, like that sounds pretty busted.
Yeah.
No, but that. Food for thought. There's other things. There's other pirate synergies that work better with her within like a black-red pirate deck.
For example, there's a card we're going to talk about here shortly called Fiery Cannonade. This card is actively better if you're playing a deck with Fiery Cannonade in it than PNLR. So, yes, we can construct scenarios. This is fair.
Yeah. I just saw like a black-red pirate list today at a website I was at, so I was like, oh, okay.
Fair enough.
It's a thing that could exist.
Next up is Charging Monstrosaur. This is 4 generic and a red for a 5/5 dinosaur with trample and haste.
AKA the best peasant cube card in the set.
Yeah, this card's if you open this is a mythic uncommon.
Yeah, it's one of those.
I didn't know that there were Eldrazi on Ixalan, but apparently there are, and they've just like transmogrified into dinosaurs and lost certain abilities.
Yeah, you may be confused as like, oh well, this is just like a sort of weird average uncommon. I don't know if you understand how close this actually is.
This is almost a rare.
Yeah, to Reality Smasher. Like, yes, Reality Smasher had the trigger where you had to discard to cast removal spell on it. Great. That's literally it. This is easier to cast, too.
Yeah.
And also, it has synergy with all of our dinosaur cards, including the things that make it cost less, and it also, Savage Stomp. So, I feel like this card is pretty close, and haste is kind of devastating for a lot of decks. You think you're cool and you're set up. If you were playing against the Eldrazi decks, that was the card that was always the most terrifying. It's like, well, as long as they don't have another reality spell, okay, well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They always have.
And it was rarely because you couldn't target it.
Yeah.
It was because you didn't have the right removal spell for their 5/5 that comes down on turn 4. So
yeah, that was the whole thing.
I mean, even if you look at the removal that we're shaping up to have, there aren't a whole lot of instant speed ways to remove this in an efficient way anyway.
Yeah.
You got the Vraska's Contempt,
Yep,
right.
which is 4 mana. But a lot of the other removals are sorcery speed. Walk the plank, sorcery. It's going to get that hit in, more likely than not. So
yeah, this is like a sweet lava axe.
yeah, I was a little surprised to see this show up on the list, but the more I thought of it, I was like, okay, yeah, it kind of makes sense.
yeah, you may not see a bunch of play, but do not be surprised if your opponent just turns sideways with this dinosaur and you don't interact with it favorably. Yeah. So
again, though, if you have a peasant cube, yeah, just windmill this, just put it right in.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Doesn't matter what you.
it's going to battle box too.
Yeah, great. I'll play it. I'll play a 5 mana 5/5 in red that has trample and haste. It's all upside. Yeah. It'll be the curve topper and like your mono red deck and your peasant cube.
In the past, cards like this would be like, it can't attack unless you have like a creature with power 4 or greater, like something like some weird thing where like it can't attack alone.
That dragon, that common dragon in Dragons of Tarkir that like gets shuffled back into your deck after you attack with it.
Yeah. It's something like that. Yeah, very rarely does red just get like an all upside fatty like that. But anyway,
hey,
cool
dinosaurs.
Cool card, awesome, cool art too on it.
Oh yeah,
guy getting chased down. All right. Next card on the list is Fiery Cannonade. So this is 2 colorless and a red for an instant. Deals 2 damage to each non-pirate creature. So this isn't super exciting, but I feel like it will fill a role that's going to be left by Kozilek's Return in Standard, where it's kind of your instant speed sweeper, which honestly we don't get a whole lot of.
No, it seems weird to get another one immediately after.
Yeah.
Well, okay, not immediately after. It should not have been this close. But whatever. Battle
worked out
been
that
legal
way.
for 7 years.
What feels like immediately after.
Oh, gosh, guess what? I have played Moto where there isn't Battle for Zendikar cards. I can't. I'm
Do
sorry.
you miss Gideon ally Zendikar you can cast against you?
I told myself I wouldn't get choked up. So I think it really depends on if pirates are good enough.
I mean, honestly, you don't even have to play this in a pirate deck. You
No.
can play like blue-red control.
That's not what I mean.
Just play this.
If pirates are good enough as a deck to be ubiquitous, this card is awkward.
True.
That is what I meant by that.
Right. But it's interesting in a way that, like, yes, it's bad if pirates are a good deck, but you could also play this in a pirate deck.
Yeah, for sure.
To sweep up vampires or whatever the small creature.
Or just
deck.
like mono
I'm
red.
fairly sure that's what the art is, right? Is they are sweeping up.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
there
certainly
you go.
are.
There you go. It's just telling you what to do. But yeah, cool card. I mean, it'll fluctuate on its usefulness based on what the metagame looks like, but it's something to, just be aware that it's out there, and if you are playing a non-pirate deck, just be aware this is a card that they could have.
And now in Modern, if you want to, you can next level the people who have the counter-target colorist spell.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Ceremonious
Rejection. And they're like, oh, well, I'm going to counter your Kozilek's Return. Like, nuh-uh.
I don't think that's the thing, but
I want it to happen at least once, and a person just like slowly droop in their chair as it happens. It's like, oh.
Oh, no.
All right. Next up, we have, good, Lightning Strike. I thought I was going to have to do the Otepec one. I was like,
yeah, that one's mine. Don't worry about it.
I think I said it okay anyways, but Lightning Strike. Woo! This colorless and a red for an instant. Lightning Strike deals 3 damage to a creature or player. And this was the gold standard after we lost Lightning Bolt in standard probably for the last time ever.
Oh, yeah.
And then it left us.
Yeah.
It left us for so long.
Quite a while. We had many imposters.
Oh my god, so many pretenders to the throne.
And then we have him back. The king is back. Well, the prince. The prince is back.
The standard king.
Standard king.
He likes to dress up in the king's clothes, but don't tell him.
So what does that make the 3 mana Lightning Strike?
Oh,
The jester.
The Jester.
The man of the Iron Mask.
Open fire.
Yeah, good. Like, honestly, though, like bringing this back in standard, obviously we have a red deck that's very good. So adding this to it over what we had was Incendiary Flow, adding an instant. It changes combat. It helps.
What Morgan approves.
Beast.
It helps you in case you accidentally go to combat before you cast your Incendiary Flow.
It does, so your hazard can still attack.
Yeah, overall, just happy to see it back, and it'll see a ton of play, and I don't think we need to say much more about Lightning
No,
Strike.
it's good.
This is a card that's like
Good.
I think we talked last week about, we talked last week about like cards that should just always be in standard. This is just one of those cards that like this should be the baseline burn spell, right? Like just good.
Yeah.
It's not like too good, and it's never like too bad.
So I do feel like they thought for sure that Fiery Temper was going to be a fine replacement, and to their credit, Fiery Temper did see a lot of play during its time in standard. So I'm cool. We got to experiment with the wacky uncle who only comes in town like once every 40
like,
sets.
Kind of lightning bolt,
Sometimes he just gets mad.
Half the time he's lightning bolt. Half the time he is the jester. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's literally drunk uncle. Glad to have it back.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about this dinosaur guy.
All right. Yeah. Otepec Huntmaster. So this is generic in red for a 1/2 human shaman. It says dinosaur spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and you can also tap it to give target dinosaur haste until end of turn. This is a cool little card. I mean, this is obviously if you're building a dinosaur deck, this is something that you're probably going to want. It's just an early drop in ways to ramp you, as well as making some of the dinosaurs that don't already come with haste a little bit more scary. Casting Carnage Tyrant off this, for example, it's pretty gross. Or casting your Regisaur Alpha, giving that one haste as well as all the other ones haste,
and the other one gets super haste.
Yeah.
I don't know where this card's place is currently in standard. And I say that only because Mana Dorks we actually have a couple really good ones now. Drover of the Mighty, which we'll talk about, is in green, which is the better dinosaur Mana Dork. But you still have Servant of the Conduit and Channeler Initiate.
Sure.
Channeler Initiate, at the end of the day, attacks a little bit better than this ever will. They can help cast other spells.
This one's obviously like a lot more narrow as far as the mana ability is. It's just how much do you want the haste? And it might turn out that it's not that important to have
especially since I think a lot of the dinosaur decks are going to start with 4 Regisaur Alpha. And because of that, it does make this a little less important. Now, this if you're trying to play, for example, mono red dinosaurs, which is close to a possibility with this set, especially the card we'll talk about next, and our Monstrosaur already, then I could see the Huntmaster being a little bit more powerful, and it will depend, I think, maybe on what Rivals brings to the table if that pans out. So this card, in me, feels like it's in 3rd or 4th place, depending on how Servant of the Conduit works in the dinosaur decks. But I want to be able to not just make my dinosaur cheaper, I want to be able to cast other spells too.
Yeah, and that's important. That's important. Yeah, your removals or whatever. Yeah, that's fair.
But the card still, obviously, haste is good and powerful, and half the reason the Monstrosaur we already talked about is good is because of haste. So,
yeah, it's a mana creature in red, which doesn't normally get mana creatures, and it's kind of done in an interesting way. So,
absolutely,
we'll see where it
does also get an extra toughness, which is interesting compared to even the green one. So, next up we have Rampaging Ferocidon. Which is 2 generic and a red for a 3/3 creature dinosaur. It has Menace. It has text that says, players can't gain life. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, Rampaging Ferocidon deals 1 damage to that creature's controller.
This means you too. So, yeah, players can't gain life.
Yeah.
This means you.
This guy's so hateful.
Yeah. He doesn't care who it is.
He's a hateful little guy.
He's just lashing out in his, in his teenage years.
You're not my dad. I don't think. I don't know. I came out of an egg. I'm just so mad. Honestly, this card is, I think, pretty close to being good. If it isn't already good. 3/3 for 3 is not great. That's quality draft common. But Menace means evasion is good, and players can't gain life. When we look at standard, that is actually a pretty relevant line of text, especially against the mono red decks, as life gain has been one of the ways to sort of go around them. And when you look at decks like the token deck that we saw the last format, Blue-White Approach from the Second Sun, that is trying to stabilize behind a 7-mana life gain spell, all this has to do is set them, push them back a turn where they have to interact with this first. That might give you the win. So I think this card is pretty good.
I think if the vampire deck ends up being a thing, and it's more of like a swarm strategy, and we see like a lot of the vampires have lifelink and things like that, so you're turning off the lifelink, you're making it so that swarm/token strategy is a little dicey if they take they take pain every time a creature comes into play. I think that could be an important card for that matchup. So yeah, it feels like a sideboard card, but it's good enough to where you could play it main, and it's not bad either. So
for sure.
Yeah, I like this card. I think the problem with red is that there are a lot of like playable 3-drops in the mono red deck, so it's you can't play them all, so you have to be choosy with what you're actually playing. And I don't know if this guy makes the cut, not because like it's bad, but just because there are other like good things to play over it.
Right.
So it's awkward, but I think it's something to keep your eye on if there is like I don't think vampires is going to be a thing for this standard, but maybe rivals changes that, and if that happens, then Dave's probably right where you might want to look at some way to counteract the life gain. So.
I know to go off this, I know Repeating Barrage is next, but can I talk about Raptor Hatchling for a minute?
Sure.
So Raptor Hatchling is technically the next card in order, and I thought I'd add it to the list, but it's a 1 generic and a red for a 1/1 creature dinosaur, and it's a baby, and it's cute. But it has an enrage. Whenever it's low damage, you get a 3/3 dinosaur creature token with trample. I actively like this card as a sideboard card against mono red. That deck has a lot of creatures with 1 toughness that have to attack. And all of their removal outside of falter effects requires them to shock or magma spray or lightning strike this out of the way. So one of the ways that you can combat the deck is to just set yourself up to have a lot of profitable 2-for-1s. This sets up a fairly profitable 2-for-1. And if you ever get to do something crazy like Savage Stomp with this and let it live, oh, that feels real good. So I just wanted to mention it. I do think it being a pretty easy 2-for-1 against red decks makes it worth possibly a sideboard slot.
Okay. I just thought it was a cute picture, but
it is also a cute picture.
That's a fair
I'm more
point.
interested in the feet behind the baby.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know who that is.
That's the 3/3. It's a mama.
I know.
No, the 3/3 is that's the big brother with an attitude problem.
What? Oh, is that what it is? You
the
beat up my kid brother.
I would say this card might be more important if we do get like a reasonable like all dinosaurs get +1/+1. We have like the big green one,
the uncommon one.
Yeah, but if we get another, this guy looks pretty good, like a metallic mimic, but it's probably a little bit too cute.
Okay, we already have Walk the Dinosaur. How many more dinosaur anthems do we need?
Infinite. They're not bad, so but maybe like I agree. Sideboard against mono red is pretty cool, but like once you are able to add toughness to this cat, then it starts getting a little bit more tempting.
It's a dinosaur.
It's a dinosaur.
Sure, I understand. It's turn a phrase, man.
How do you steer a phrase?
I'm not even gonna like dignify that with a response.
You just did. Go ahead, Dave.
All right, Repeating Barrage. It's cost generic red sorcery. Deals 3 damage to target creature or player, and then has a raid trigger. So if you have raided, you can pay 3 red to return Repeating Barrage from your graveyard to your hand, and of course activate this ability only if you've attacked with a creature this turn. So this is kind of a new take on Hammer of Bogarden, which was a sweet card back in the day. And one that probably should have been an Iconic Masters, if you ask me. Especially
that's
with
not
that.
What that set was about, Dave.
No, I know, but especially with that OG art, man, that was sweet. But I guess time will tell if this is going to be a staple of Standard. I mean, when I see this card, I originally was like, I don't know if it's good enough. It's kind of it's pretty mana intensive. It might be worth it as like a 1 of in the slot as like kind of something you can do in the late game in an aggressive red deck.
Man,
Like it's not like
I wish it was good because I have fond memories of Hammer of Bogarden.
yeah,
but
it's definitely like below the curve as far as burn spells. We just talked about Lightning Strike, which is much better than this. But this does give you something to do, if you do get into that late game. Maybe it's a sideboard card.
Does it, though? Like, you have to still be attacking. That's the problem with this card.
Yeah.
Like, Hammer Bogarden, yes, I agree. Then you could ride the late game. You triggered in your
They, wrath your board. You're just
But the having to attack with this, you have to be in a position to attack. And unless you have something repeatable that you're just able to throw chaff away at, you better have profitable attacks, or else this isn't going to be a late game engine. It's going to be a nothing.
Okay,
so
that's fair.
I don't think it's good enough. I hope that it is somewhere, but I guess I just don't see it.
Okay,
man, talk about cards that they try to bring back, but they don't just do it quite right. I think that's what this card is. Like, this card's annoying and limited. I would give you that.
Sweet and limited.
Super annoying and limited, but in standard, I just feel like. Okay, what are you doing? You're attacking with your Hazoret because it's indestructible. Cool. You don't need this
exactly.
You're already attacking with a Hazoret, unless they just have a big guy that's just always able to block it. Maybe then maybe that specific corner case. So maybe this is something you see weirdly against dinosaur decks, but then you're probably not attacking because then they could just attack you back. It doesn't math out the way that you'd like it to.
Maybe Tempo Blue Red Pirates, where you have a lot of flyers that only have one power. But again, that deck, I don't know. I hope it sees play, but I'm not optimistic about it.
Neither am I.
This next card has the best flavor text of all time.
So this is a Rigging Runner. It's red for a 1/1 creature Goblin Pirate. Has first strike and raid. If it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it if you attack the creature this turn. And that sweet flavor text is, the hook makes him feel brave, and the hat makes him feel fancy.
That is fantastic.
I really like all the Goblin Pirates because the idea that they've just taken all the things they like, the 1/1 that gets a treasure, and it's just running away from the Sun Tribe, and has one of the masks on, and just I took this. This is mine. It's pretty awesome. I honestly, this card is a little underwhelming, but it has the potential to consistently be a 2/2 for 1, and Mono Red just lost 8 1-drops. So
they can't be too picky.
And some of those 1-drops were Village Messenger, so you're not exactly just swapping out the best for the vice versa. And I will say this, in a mirror situation, First Strike all of a sudden becomes really relevant because it is hard to fight with this in combat when all your creatures have 2 toughness or less.
It's just awkward with this card because it's in order to get the trigger, you need to not cast it on turn 1, and it's you want your 1-drops to be you always want them on turn 1.
Yeah.
In most cases, and this is one that's if you're casting it on turn 1, it's kind of sad. But
yeah, it's a little awkward.
It is, but I mean, you probably I think the days of the 2/1 drop in red are at least not going to be around for this standard season until we maybe get
sure. I was
get
say,
rivals.
I don't think they're done with that idea. Falcon Red
No.
Forger literally is just now leaving, but
I would like this card a lot more if we had a plethora of 1-drops in the format, because then you just play a ton of 1-drops, and then that way you can play another.
You have 12 now you can play. You have 4 Bomat Courier and 4 Soulscar Mage and then 4 of this. So you do still have 12 1-drops now to slot in.
They're still technically Flame Blade Adept, but no.
So you still have 4 that's all I was talking about, the 3 different cards, but so I also want to mention we don't have Ryle on here, but Ryle is a card some people have been pointing out that might see some play. It's a single red for a sorcery, and it deals 1 damage to a creature you control. It gains trampled on a turn and draw a card. It definitely is very, very good with Ripjaw Raptor. Incredibly good. But I don't think there's another good enough enraged payoff yet.
Maybe the Ranging Raptors?
Maybe the Ranging Raptors. So if Rivals brings another one other real solid enraged dino to go with this, I think this card becomes very playable because it's just a cantrip that may get you another awesome effect.
I wish you had the option to hit their creatures too. But
yeah, that would be incredible. Good. 1 damage to your creature and draw a card.
Be like Pepper Smoke plus sometimes you just hit your own guy and trigger Enrage. Yeah. All right. Rowdy Crew.
I'm just thinking about that card and thinking about Modern and just Snapcaster decks playing that against Affinity.
Ryle?
No, I guess yeah. I mean, sorcery speed, meh, but it's still pretty good. Anyway,
still good. Yeah, that's what makes it playable. That's what makes it printable, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. All All right, Rowdy Crew is our next card. It's 2 red for a 3/3 human pirate, or a gang of pirates, I guess. Has trample, and when it enters the battlefield, you draw 3 cards and discard 2 cards at random. If the 2 cards share a card type or discarded this way, put 2+1/+1 counters on Rowdy Crew. So this is a card that I saw some decks being built around. This is a mythic, by the way. I think it's a cool card. However, it's going to be fighting for spots with Hazoret and Chandra while it's in standard. So this is kind of like the third option at the 4-drop slot, and I think it's significantly below those other 2 cards.
I absolutely agree.
So that's the problem. I think it's outside of if those 2 cards didn't exist, I think this card would probably see play. But as you know, a lot of these kind of borderline cards are contextual, on the format, and unfortunately for the Rowdy Crew here, I don't think it'll end up seeing a ton of play. Possibly, in a pirate deck if you want that synergy, but chances are Chandra and Hazoret are just going to be better.
There are definitely a lot of people that have been talking about this card in mono red, and I don't get it, but I'm gonna leave it out there that I'm willing to be wrong about this. So
it also has like a random, the random discard effect is always kind of dicey. I mean, you are technically up a card, I guess, but
you do it. Yeah. So the only place I've seen I've been interested in this is in some builds of Godfarrow's Gift, where you just want to churn through your deck, and sometimes you get a 5/5 or a 6/6 once it comes back from the Godfarrow's Gift. So that's pretty interesting. But beyond that, I don't know. I'm certainly not a person who could do the numbers for you. If it hasn't already happened, I'm sure Frank Carson will have an article detailing exactly what all your different options are for Rowdy Crew and the percentages. But I know when I play Magic, this is going to be a 3/3 all of the time, and I'm going to have 2 mountains up to my hand when it's done. So I'll pass.
Yeah, it's not something that interests me, but I don't know. I'm not good at Magic, so I could just be wrong.
We should probably just mention Sunbird's Invocation.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit of buzz.
All right. You can take that one.
All right. Sunbird's Invocation is a 5 generic and a red for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell from your hand, reveal the top X cards of your library. X is that spell's converted mana cost. You may cast a card revealed this way with converted mana cost X or less without paying its mana cost. Put the rest of the bottom of your library in a random order. So obviously this wants you to chain spells into each other. But I don't know. I'm not quite buying it. I know some people were kind of hyped by this card, but the kind of cards you want to play with in a deck like this tend to be cantrips and that sort of thing. Like, how many expensive cards can you put in here to actually do with this? Does that make sense? So
if you cast Approach to the Second Sons and you hit another one, do you automatically win? Or does that not work?
No. Doesn't the second approach have to be cast from your hand?
Well, wouldn't the second one be cast from your hand? Because wouldn't the one off of Sunbird's Invocation resolve first?
I don't know how that all works.
Oh, on here. Depends on how. Let me read Approach real quick here. If Approach of the Second Sun was cast from your hand and you've cast another spell named Approach of the Second Sun this game, you win the game. So, yeah, technically I think it would.
Because by the time the one in your hand resolves, the other one would be cast.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, but you had to play a 6-mana enchantment and Approach the Second Sun and not die before then. So
I mean, you are playing red and white, which have plenty of ways to not die before that, I think.
Oh, wait a second. Hold on. There's a ruling about this. Let me look at this here.
All right. We're going to wait for the ruling.
We don't want to have the misinformation.
No, you can. No, it says you can cast a card because it was talking about if a copy of the spell isn't cast, but that's not what it says. You may cast the card. So yes, it would technically be 2 different copies of Approach from the Second Sun. So yeah, that would work.
Boom.
You did it. That probably means you're running like more than just the traditional 2 approaches in your deck, though.
Oh, you're running the full set then.
Yeah, great. That deck sounds terrible. I don't know. I will be excited to see what people do with this card, but I'm not expecting greatness from it.
It's kind of, I don't know. Like, you obviously have to build a deck around it, and obviously it doesn't do anything at all by itself. the turn you cast this, you're probably just casting this and saying go and hope you don't die. But if you get to untap with it, it's pretty sweet. So this is probably Keller's Type 4 dream card. Right? Like, this is
Yeah, it's not terrible.
probably pretty great. All right. Next card. Wily Goblin.
Oh, yeah.
Another Goblin Pirate. Costs red for a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, get a treasure. That's it. It's kind of like another red mana creature in a way.
This is a weird one to me because this feels like an actual sort of mana red creature for red. And they're, much like blue has taken on a different sort of identity for this set, red feels that way too. There's the red enchantment we didn't talk about, the 4-mana one, where you get a treasure every turn, and a creature they control has to attack you. You can play some weird decks in this with these treasure cards and kind of ramp in red. Maybe that's how you play the Sunbird's Invocation. I'm not really sure, but I think this card is interesting. I want to play this card, and I know you're going to get on me about this, but I want to play with Panharmonicon because this lets you play turn 3 Panharmonicons, and this card with Panharmonicon gives you 2 treasures, not one.
Man.
What's
but
your
2?
What's your end game? I don't understand.
Burning Sun's Avatar. I already said this.
Okay, no, all right. I guess you did.
Yeah,
It's like
that's right. How
mono
about
red,
that?
mono red Panharmonicon. Are we doing it?
I might. It sounds sweet. What else can I put in there? Oh yeah, PNLR because it goes.
PNLR. Yeah.
Sand Stranglers.
Rowdy Crew.
God. I think Sand Stranglers is a sweet one though. Now can start taking out 6 mana creatures, or sorry, 6 toughness creatures.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I'm in.
You have a problem, and its name is Panharmonicon.
Leave me alone, okay?
Somebody's gonna cast that 1/3 that shuts off all the enters the battlefield triggers. You're gonna be sad.
I will probably just curse at them. I was immediately just like, hey, blank. It's like, why? Oh man, I got a sweet one because we added the Sunbird's Invocation. It advances blasting cannons. 3 generic and a red for a legendary enchantment. This is our red flip enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast that card this turn. Whenever you cast your 3rd spell on a turn, you may transform Vance's Blasting Cannons, and it becomes Spitfire Bastion, which is a legendary land. It adds a red to your mana pool, or for a red and 2 generic, you can tap it to deal 3 damage to target creature or player. So hilariously, the red land has open fire on it.
But it's okay when it's tacked onto.
Oh
the land.
yeah.
Well, when it's
You
literally
totally pay
cannons,
that.
cannons open fire. I do want to point out that the art and the story on this card is amazing. These pirates are like, well, we need a place, we need a bastion for ourselves, so let's just fire cannonballs at this mountain until we can make our place.
So they're just borrowing in by like firing cannons.
You know, like it looked like they'd make an outpost,
Yeah.
but they start by shooting the mountain. I think this card is pretty good. It definitely reminds you of another red card that we had not too long ago. Everyone remember?
Yeah, Outpost Siege.
Outpost Siege.
Good. I'm glad that we have not forgotten those who have fallen. Outpost
I thought
Siege-
you were just going to be like Shrouded Firebrand.
I played 4 Outpost Siege in the deck. Come
yes. Outpost Siege, though, was a little bit different because it allowed you to play lands
Yeah.
off of it.
That's the big difference, and that is a huge difference.
It certainly
because
is a
if you
huge
hit,
difference.
if you hit a land off this, then it actually does nothing.
Yes and no. Doesn't technically help you draw a spell. Technically, like it took a land you would have drawn anyways. So.
Sure.
So here's the thing. The thing I found with this card, having played with it a little bit just to test it out, it plays pretty well. It feels like Outpost Siege a lot of the times. It is awkward though if you play your 4th land and play this, and you are hoping to hit a land the next turn.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it just deprives you of it. As many times it's like, oh, I don't want to draw this land anyways. There are times where it's like, well, I wish that was sequenced differently.
I really needed that land, actually.
The flip side of this, though, is not a joke. And against any deck that is dirtily and not really getting anywhere, this is a legitimate clock that is super hard to interact with. So
Yeah.
I like this card. I don't know where it goes yet. We talked about Mono Red already having a ton of 4-drops.
Right.
So, but I could see even a deck like Blue Red Control running this card as its alternative win condition, because now you have Opt. You could I was telling you, Dave, when I was trying this card out, that in a deck with more expensive cards, it just doesn't flip for a long time. It just gives you cards. But then when you want it to flip, you can on command. Like, okay, I've turned the corner. Let's flip this. And it's a safer win condition sometimes than Gear Hulk is because it's really hard to interact with. So I definitely think there's a couple of ways you could play this card, but it's fun.
I was thinking about possibly playing this card in Modern, so...
Oh, there you go.
You know.
The card definitely flips in Modern.
Yeah.
Can we get Taxian Probe back?
You don't even need it.
I mean,
just cast
I need
Serum Visions, Ops, fail push your guy, whatever, bolt your guy.
Bolt you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, card's good. Red, I think, got some cool stuff in this set. I think it did get a little bit of the short shrift dinosaur-wise, because green really seems to take the front seat for that. But
which makes sense. I mean...
But Lightning Strike is a format-defining card to get back, so... Glad to see it.
At least for Standard.
Yeah, well, that's the only format it defines.
Yeah.
So, let's move to green then.
All right. First green card is... I'm going to butcher this. Atzokan Archer. Cost 2 and a green for a 1/4 human archer with reach. And when it enters the battlefield, you may have it fight another target creature. And this one wasn't originally on the list, and I think, Mike, you added it.
I did.
And your reasoning makes sense to me.
One, I think it's a good card against, again, Mono Red is a deck I keep talking about. It comes down, it can take out one of their 1-drops, or it can take out the 2/1. I'm going to forget its name.
Kenra.
Thank you. And then it just has 4 toughness, so it can block, which is... it's already doing a lot of work against that deck.
Now, to be fair, blocking can be somewhat difficult versus Mono Red.
It certainly can, but this card is proactive as well as defensive, which is nice. But most cards that word like this or that have this on it say it fights a creature you don't control. This doesn't. So you do have some weird options with this card, like fighting your enraged dinosaurs. Now, at 4 toughness, it may in fact die. If you fight a Ripjaw Raptor.
Ripjaw Raptor don't like getting shot with an arrow.
But we also have, there's the 3/2 green dinosaur that if you enrage, you gain 2 life. So you can even come down, hit that, and just I'll hit this to gain the 2 life. Or the one we've mentioned a couple times where you get to search for a land. And that doesn't seem like a terrible poke either, depending on what you're doing. So, again, I'm mentioning a couple sideboard cards that I think are applicable to red. They may not see play, but I do think it is interesting to see them. There are a couple different ways you could interact with these aggressive decks. And not just red, if we talk about vampires being a thing, if we have a bunch of 1/1 vampire tokens, this guy comes down, takes out a 1/1 token, and again, is not easy for that deck to interact with because it is a 1/4. So, something to consider. I guess it's me next, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, Carnage Tyrant.
And you're getting all the good cards.
You know what's funny is you made me talk about Sunbirdification instead of you saying it because you didn't want to read the text, and now you've altered the fate.
All right, best card in the set.
Carnage Tyrant is a 4 generic green 7/6 creature dinosaur. It can't be countered, and it has trample and hexproof. What are the things that people love most? Hexproof for sure. Oh, it can't be countered in addition to it. So
I think it's hilarious that in the spoiler, it's literally right next to the same casting cost, 6/6 trample common. That's it.
Can you explain how this works to me too? So the common one is called Colossal Dreadmaw, and there's definitely a picture of it standing behind an actual ship, and it being much larger than that. But the Carnage Tyrant is the size of pirates.
I mean, it's bigger.
He's got armor on though.
It's bigger, but it is not bigger than the Colossal Dreadmaw.
It's not bigger than a ship.
So, I don't understand, but either way, this card it's already a $30 card, definitively the Chase Mythic from this set, and is the card that is going to keep the control decks in check. And that upset Morgan, that's why he smacked his phone against the table.
It's not. It was an accident.
I know a lot of people were really excited. We saw the blue-black control deck that did very well right at the end of this last format. Blue-white Approach has been doing okay. Obviously, blue-red's been around. This card really punishes all of them. Blue-white has Fumigate. Blue-red does not have anything.
Yeah, you remember when Blue-red used to be a deck? It's not a deck.
Hey, remember when it got that sweet sweeper?
Yeah, Our Devastation
awesome?
that deals 5 damage.
Yeah.
Awkward. Hey, at least they can always use Torrential... Oh, that's a 5/6. Well, that's weird.
They can use 2 of them.
Scarab God? No, that's... 5/5.
Yeah, so here's the thing about Scarab God, though. If for any reason one of these goes into the graveyard and then you get to Scarab God it, your opponent all of a sudden he's like, I'm going to card Sniper you, and you're like, I'll harsh scrutiny you and make you discard it. Now it's mine. Now it'll be a 4/4, but still.
A 4/4 trample hexproof.
But the blue black,
right.
the blue black deck is probably locked into playing Bantu's Last Reckoning now, which is not exactly where that deck wants to be.
It's gross.
So this card changes what control looks like week 1 and probably throughout its entire existence in Standard. You have to have a way to interact with this card, whether that be through discard effects, whether that be through things like Lost Legacy, something.
Yeah. I just think it's wild that a card like this. I think when I first my first glance over the spoiler, I was just like, wow, that card's like pretty annoying to deal with. I didn't think it would be considered the best card in the set.
I mean, I didn't know it was going to be the best card in the set for sure because I hadn't seen everything. But when I looked at this card, I was like, oh, well, okay. Yeah, this card's going to be great.
That's a thing, yeah. But
so I think this card is going to be very frustrating for a lot of people. And I don't know if that's good or not. I'm glad that when control can be in check. And obviously, they've tried to make blue do a little bit like some different things in this set. But this card just feels heads above so many things, other things you can do that I feel like anything that's even mid-rangey green is probably playing this card. Team Your Energy is probably playing this card.
Yeah, you should be at the very least.
You know what I mean? Red Green Dinosaur is obviously playing this card. Black Green like Snakes probably playing this card. Like it is ubiquitous enough because of those lines of text, and that's probably what Wizards wanted.
Yeah,
but
the creature type doesn't matter.
It doesn't feel like it, and honestly, the more I'm talking about it, the more annoyed I am by this card.
Yeah,
because it just feels like bad design. But whatever,
it's rough. it's nothing unique. It's not like
it's unique.
So like if it said has hexproof as long as you control a dinosaur, how drastically does that drop the power level? Does it drop it down to a rare at that point in time? Or how powerful? Because you have to, I think you have to weigh the keywords on it, right?
Well, it's
triple. We know that doesn't matter.
It's not nearly as good. I mean, the big thing about this card is it could be. I mean, they could cast a Fumigate and then you could just follow up with this, and it's well, they better have another Fumigate or they're going to die. This is just on its own.
Yeah, obviously
a threat to end the game.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out how we tweak the design to make it not as frustratingly ubiquitous.
Oh, we don't. It's in print. And
yeah. But it's
honestly,
it's an interesting thought.
I think if it was a 5/5, then Gearhulk can eat it. Our Devastation can deal with it,
or at least a 5/6.
But then maybe
I think making it a 5/5 is ridiculous. But if, a 5/6, so
5/6, sure.
So at least they bounce off of each other, so you can defend yourself against it if you have a Gearhulk out. But I think it's rough. You want green to have something good, but how do you balance it against all the things that they gave blue? So
I will say this: I'd rather hexproof be on a large creature like this than on smaller ones, because then you end up with the auras and nonsense.
Yeah,
you don't want that. Nobody wants that again. Anyway, but yeah, sweet card. I still don't agree with it being $30 or whatever it is, but what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? That's what happens when you print it
better.
A ubiquitous mythic rare.
I don't play green cards. Next card, Commune with Dinosaurs.
Well, you don't play green cards, so are you allowed to commune with dinosaurs? Can you even commune with dinosaurs?
Do they even talk to you?
Do you even dino talk, bro?
They look at their dino phones and they go, "Oh, it's Dave again," and they just hang up.
And then you see it says "seen." It's been red. It says red.
Send me straight to voicemail.
They're not responding.
Yeah. All right. Commune with Dinosaurs is. We've seen cards like this before, but it costs a single green for a sorcery. It says, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a dinosaur or land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So this is similar to what Commune with the Gods, which was 2 mana.
Commune with what, nature? Was that another one?
Commune with nature? Was that just creature?
I can't remember. Yeah.
I will look it up.
Or Oath of Nissa, similar.
The funny story is they had a different name. This is the playtest name, and it's just. I think it was Andrew Brown was like, "This is just what they're going to call it." So
Commune with nature was look at the top 5 cards, reveal a creature card for a green.
So this one gives you a little bit more utility since you can get a land with it, but it's strictly dinosaurs.
Not with it, or.
Right, you cast this and get a land is what I mean.
Yeah, but any land I think is the big thing about this card.
Yeah.
Sure. So You being able to get a dinosaur or get Ramen Up Ruins, right? Like
Sure.
that's. I think this card is pretty close to playable, if not outright very good. So.
I mean, it's probably if you're like the dinosaur deck, you're probably just slamming four.
Oh yeah,
in
you're
there.
playing this.
I played enough Mantle Eldrazi to know that I should probably play this card.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, this card
Ace
definitely.
is pretty good magic.
This will
card.
definitely see play in any green-based dinosaur deck. So yeah, which is probably
you know
all
what
of
it
them.
finds?
Everything.
Carnage Tyrant.
Carnage
Yeah.
Tyrant. Yeah.
And then your black based control deck's like, finally I get to use this harsh scrutiny. Blech. Can't believe like
Hey,
the more we talk about it, the more that card like is actually just like needed inside boards. It's
Lay
just,
Bare
like-
the Heart gets Carnage Tyrant.
it certainly does. Yes, not planeswalkers anymore
not
though.
any Planeswalker.
No
though.
planeswalkers anymore
What's the
though.
point of that card?
It's to be bad.
Yes, to be bad. Next up is Death Gorge Scavenger. This is 2 generic and a green for a 3/2 dinosaur. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may exile target card from a graveyard. If a creature card is exiled this way, you gain 2 life. If a non-creature card is exiled this way, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. I think this card is good, but I don't know how good. I played around with it a little bit, and as long as there's a steady stream of things for it to eat, it feels pretty good. I will say attacking as a 4/3 is not wonderful, especially when Lightning Strike is now going to be the ubiquitous removal spell in the format. But the extra, like, sometimes you need life, sometimes you'll just get in for an extra 1.
Yep. Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't. It's the almond joy mounds of dinosaur cards.
We literally need to get sponsored by Almond Joy Mounds. The amount of times we literally say the name of those candy bars.
It's perfect. It's a great analogy.
But beyond that, I don't know. I haven't seen this. This has not been ubiquitous in the red, green, or Naya dinosaurs list I've seen. It feels very aggressively slanted, but dinosaurs awkwardly isn't aggressively slanted for the most part. It's more of a mid range deck that wants to curve out. So I don't really know.
Yeah, I think this is a cool card, but I don't think it'll be good enough. I think it's basically just, comes down, gain 2 life. Most of the time when you attack, gain 2 life.
Probably true.
Which is okay. But
it
again,
seems
if you
gonna
don't have
trade
anything in the
almost
graveyard,
anything,
it's really bad if there's no creatures in the graveyard.
Absolutely.
It's just like, 3 mana, 3/2, do nothing. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's I wish that it would just a counter, like just put a +1/+1
When I first
counter.
read this card, I was like, "Oh, if it gets a counter, this is great." And I read it again and said, "Oh no, this card is not nearly as good." I agree with you.
I feel like it probably originally did get a counter. I'm just speculating here, but like
Maybe
I feel
I
like
just-
it maybe originally got a counter. Maybe it was too good, or maybe it interacted with some of the other like cards in the
Maybe.
set with +1 counters, and they were like, well, we don't want dinosaurs and merfolk to
coexist.
coexist.
Even though they definitely coexist in the like the theme of the set, but whatever.
yeah.
I guess I just miss Scavenging Ooze, man.
Yeah, don't
It's
we
like
all?
a wannabe like Kitchen Finks /
like-
Scavenging
yeah.
Ooze.
It's like, hey, remember Scavenging Ooze? What would happen if we fixed it? You made a bad card then. As it turns out, made a bad card.
Interestingly enough,
If this was a 3/3, the other way, if this is like a 3/3, it'd be nice.
I think
as
if it's a 2/3, it's even better.
yeah, like a
So-
2/3 you could even get away with, but yeah,
I don't know.
Meh.
3 mana 3/2s in standard have been great recently. So we got an average one. It's like, all right, bye Tireless Tracker. We'll replace you with this.
Well, again, it's a reliance on like card advantage and permanent +1/+1 counters. Like that is a good combination, as it turns out. So sorry, Mr. Scavenger, you don't quite get there.
It's like Smang.
Yeah,
I guess if it got counters, right, you could like play it as a 4/3, attack as a 5/4.
yeah, which would be busted. So
Yeah,
it'd probably be really good.
pretty good.
Stop it! I can't take it anymore.
Pretty good. All right. Deep Root Champion is the next card. It's costs a generic and a green.
It costs a jar and a one.
A jar-
I literally
a
said like
jarny
a
one.
gerund. I was
A
like, well,
gerund.
it costs
Because
grammar. Okay.
A generic and a 1. It's a 1/1. Merfolk Shaman. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Deep Root Champion. So this one does get counters.
Because it's a Merfolk.
And it's also a blue card, but it's green.
But it's not a blue card.
Much like Tarmogoyf, it's a blue card.
I mean, it's Queer and Dried.
Blue card.
It's a green card too. It's weird how that
But
works.
it was blue.
I'm colorblind. Don't mess with me like this. I know that it costs green mana to cast.
I see the tree.
I see the tree there. Yeah. Yeah. This one's kind of an oddball because I feel like a lot of the Merfolk taking a picture of my shoe?
I'm putting the baseball game on, but silencing it so it doesn't. I want to watch the baseball game.
I thought
Okay.
you were snapping a photo of my shoes.
Yeah, I was taking a big picture of your shoes and going up skirt. I'm sorry, Dave.
Jeez, man, that's inappropriate. No, this.
Hey, make sure the sound's off that. We can't get broadcast that without the
express written consent of Major League Baseball.
I'm just making sure.
I was doing it. Dave got all weirded out.
I don't want the baseball lawyers to knock on my door and be like, "We saw what you did." I don't know how that actually works. I think that's what
I'm pretty
they
sure
do.
it's Bud Selig who just shows up at your door. I know he's not the commissioner anymore, but what else is he doing?
He's like, this is what I do now.
He's gonna be like Jay and Silent Bob. He's like, "Are you Mike from At Your End Step? Did you did you broadcast the Indians White Sox game or whatever?" Anyway, Deep Road Champion.
Sorry about that tangent.
Yeah. So this card is a little weird in this set because a lot of the merfolk seem like they rely on the tribal synergy and like having a board. And this is a creature that's like kind of disincentivizes you from playing other creatures and like wants to just have a bunch of spells. So I feel like this card doesn't really fit. Like if there's a merfolk deck, I feel like this doesn't even go into the merfolk deck. It's just like happens to be a merfolk. But this is more of like your blue-green tempo-y. Maybe like Teamer Energy, it might be playing something like that. Though that has a lot of creatures in it too. So I don't know.
I think there is a possibility of seeing a card like this see play. I've seen a couple of things that had Riddle form, so they had me there. But playing things like Spell Pierce and Opt and Blossoming Defense and Chart a Course all together with this card. It feels like the Miracle Grow was the deck that you had before that played Quirion Dryad and pretty much a blue deck. You're right. To just protect it with cheap spells, pump it up a little bit, and start attacking. So the potential here is here for that. But this card is like a bunch of other cards that just feel like without rivals, we might just not have it yet.
Yeah, this one, like, I want to believe that it's good in Modern, but I don't think it is. Yeah, I don't think it is. Compare this to, like, Young Pyromancer, right? So, like, Pyromancer lets you build out a board as you cast spells, whereas this is, like, you're building up one creature that's probably just going to get Fatal Push, so it's probably not good.
Yeah.
That's why Death Shadow is so bad.
Yeah. Well, Death Shadow, you don't have to put a lot of work into it. You just cast it.
Pretty sure if you had this in play after, and then you cast all the spells that you needed to cast to get that shadow into play, you'd have a comparably large creature.
It'd be close.
Now, obviously, 2 mana. I'm just saying, like, it may be better than you're giving it credit for. That's all. Give it a chance.
Again, I want it to be good,
Yeah, that's fair.
but I don't think it will be in Modern.
All right. Next up, Driver of the Mighty. This is generic and a green for a 1/1 human druid. Driver of the Mighty gets +2/+2 as long as you control a dinosaur, and then you could tap it to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. This is sort of the premier dinosaur mana fixer. It comes down, it helps you ramp into your dinosaurs, and then once you have a board full of dinosaurs, it's a respectable 3/3 that can attack. So I don't really have anything else bad to say about this. If you're playing green-based dinosaurs, which you are if you're playing dinosaurs, this is going to be in that deck. There's just no way around it. You're playing 4 of this card.
It's also like somewhat surprising that they would make a card like this that adds any mana. Seems like they've kind of gotten away from these, at least like in recent sets.
I mean, especially at like uncommon.
Yeah, I think the last one we had
like add green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was the last? I guess like was it Caryatid? Was it?
I mean, it's Servant of the Conduit adds any color. Channeler Initiate adds any color.
Okay,
we've always had at least a rare one that does this. At uncommon, this is odd, but
at uncommon in like unlimited times.
I think when you talk about like New World Order, it is actively more confusing to put tap for white or red or green on this than just eloquently saying any color.
Yeah,
sure. So because it doesn't really matter in your deck if even it's unlimited. It's not a 5-color format. It doesn't really support 5 colors in Ixalan. And in Standard, you're playing this with dinosaurs. You're probably staying in Naya colors. So
probably see a lot of this into Ripjaw Raptors.
This into Ripjaw Raptor or this into a 3-drop Dinosaur Savage Stomp, which is real good.
Yeah, especially if it's... Eventually we'll get to Ranging Raptors and talk about them. But that would be one of the good 3-mana ones to go into.
Yeah. Instead, we have to talk about more crappy merfolk.
No.
Kumetra's Speaker is fine. Kumetra's Speaker costs a single green for 1/1 Merfolk Shaman. Gets +1/+1 as long as you control another Merfolk or an island.
Whose speaker is it?
It's definitely not.
Oh, not Kumetra. It's Kumina's.
I'm like, where are you getting the trust sound
I
from,
don't
bud?
know, man. I'm tired. Kumina's Speaker. I apologize.
So
Kumetra, another, was that like a god?
that's
Karametra.
Karametra.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. I don't know, man. Kumina.
So sometimes a 1-mana 2/2. Never technically in standard, right?
On turn 1?
Not on turn 1, yeah.
Turn 1 breeding pool.
Well,
fetch land breeding
it's pretty
pool.
easy
This
to
guy?
attack for 2.
Yeah.
This card is actually fine. Merfolk themselves aren't very good, but this is a fine card.
Yeah.
So with all the +1/+1 counter synergies, it's not hard to make this a little bit better. And 2/2s for 1 are always going to be just